Thank you very much for joining us. The anti-LGBTQ bill may struggle to receive presidential assent as the concerns of the potential economic impact continue to hit hard. The latest is the call by the Finance Ministry to have the president defer the passage of the bill. The ministry thinks that the country could be negatively impacted should the bill become law. The controversial bill has already seen development partners issue warnings of possible setbacks to the Ghanaian economy. Now, these concerns are being corroborated by the Finance Ministry, which fears the nation is not ready for the financial cuts the country could be plunged into. Let me take you through the details of the possible implications as have been highlighted by the Finance Ministry and the solutions thereof. Now, World Bank funded programs. The ministry says $300 million First Ghana Resilient Recovery Development Policy Operations Budget Support may suffer. Also $300 million on ongoing negotiations. Second Ghana Resilient Recovery Development Policy Operations. It is also for budget support. Ongoing negotiations, $250 million for Ghana Financial Stability Fund. Disbursement of undisbursed amount totaling $2.1 billion for ongoing projects. It also states project worth $900 million that may suffer, and also that Ghana is likely to lose $3.8 billion in World Bank financing over the next 6 years. So that should be the total amount it states in that communique. Now, it talks about subsequent impact on other programs, financing gap in 2024 budget. IMF ECF could suffer due to revenue shortfalls as a result of cuts. Challenges with IMF would negatively impact external debt restructuring. Possible adverse reactions from Germany and the wider European community. The statement gives some recommendations. It says structured engagement with religious bodies and faith-based organizations to communicate economic implications and build stronger coalition and a framework for supporting key development issues. Goes on to say effective engagement with conservative countries to help trigger resources to fill in the potential financing gaps to be created. And the president may also have to defer assenting to the bill until the court rules on the legal issues tabled by key national stakeholders, i.e. CSOs and SHRAJ. Dr. Patrick Esuming is an economist with the University of Ghana Business School. He joins us live on the line. Good afternoon to you, Doc. Thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon to you and good afternoon to your listeners.
Doc, listening to the details in this statement from the Finance Ministry, should we be worried?
I think that the Finance Ministry has gone ahead of itself a little bit. And I think this statement is somewhat premature. The Finance Ministry shouldn't think that Ghanaians, and then through that, their representatives in Parliament didn't know the law that they were passing. Right from the beginning, we've heard the same development partners sound warnings of what may happen when the bill passes. But we have to understand that, the Finance Ministry cannot use its position as Finance Ministry to stampede the process and to tell the president to override the feelings of ordinary Ghanaians as expressed with the Parliament of Ghana. So while the possible financial implications may be real, I don't think it's in the place of the Finance Ministry to tell the president not to sign the bill that the people of Ghana, through their representatives, have passed.
So you think the Finance Ministry is interfering in the process?
Yeah, I think all of this is not necessary. I don't think it's in its place for them to decide. Don't forget that Ghanaians are, yes, we are economic beings, but we are also social beings, we are political beings, we are cultural beings. And, it's for Ghanaians to decide. If we say these are the economic implications, it's for Ghanaians to decide what matters to us the most and which course of action to take. It's not for the Finance Ministry to think that because it sits in that position, it should use the financial considerations should override everything else, and therefore they should decide that the president shouldn't sign. It's not for them to tell the president what to do or not to do.
You think, please land.
I think that, the people of Ghana should understand what we are signing, what the potential implications are, and for us to decide what we want to do. It's not for the finance ministry to tell us because there are financial implications. The bill should not be signed.
You just said that all along, whilst Parliament and Ghanaians were discussing this very bill before its passage by Parliament, the international bodies raised issues. Having made that point, do you find it suspicious that the Finance Ministry is now issuing a statement after the bill has been passed?
Yeah, I think that's why I'm saying the statement issued is somewhat unnecessary, and in some sense, appears as a fear mongering. I don't think people didn't know. From the very moment this bill was muted, and then the process is gone through, the financial implications have always been part of the discussion. So the parliamentarians have been aware. The people of Ghana who have engaged massively with this bill are aware. So everybody knows what may or may not happen. So it might be that they think that they can put numbers to it. But I think it's okay to say these are the possible financial implications. In any case, nobody, even though there's been some opinions, especially expressed by the U.S. ambassador, and then I think I've seen the IMF also issue some statement. There's no clear-cut it's not hard, in fact, at the moment the bill is assented to, all the things that they are saying will happen. A lot of it, if you read the statement, a lot of it is just based on conjecture, because we're talking about possible adverse effects. It's not something that we know for a fact it will happen. Even if it will happen, I don't think it's the place of the finance ministry to decide that, we can't pass any bill in this country that Ghanaians are supportive of because of the financial implications.
Doc, what would you say to those who would question why a number one gold producer would be needing all these monies? What do we do with our internally generated funds?
Well, I think in terms of the resources, we know that we have a long history of mismanaging our resources, the proceeds of our resources. And that's part of the reason why we've needed to go to an IMF 17 times. And there's a potential there, but I think we also have to understand. We've seen how, especially the U.S. working through the World Bank and the other are trying to stifle countries that have passed similar laws. I think we are in a position to garner as much resources, even without needing the loan. After all, when the current president was in power, he campaigned and said that we have all the resources we need. Just with better management. And of course, we know that we need cooperation of some development partners. But I think that we have to decide as a people that we are a sovereign nation, and this is a path that we want to take.
We are a sovereign nation. Let me ask you my last question then. How would you want this handled, looking at an executive that wants this money and a population that seemingly wants this bill passed as soon as yesterday, should I say?
I think the government is there to serve the wishes of the people. And if, the government is not making decisions for itself. So I think where I support the statement is perhaps further engagement, especially between the executive, the legislature, and other bodies, for everybody to understand what the implications are. And for all of us to agree that this is a bill we really want passed and we want assented to into law. And then we all know what the implications are and what actions we want to take going forward, assuming that the financial implications that the finance ministry is talking about become a reality. Then we find alternatives around it.
We'll end it here. Thank you very much, Dr. Patrick Esuming. He is an economist with the University of Ghana Business School. Thank you so much for speaking to us. Now, the opposition National Democratic Congress is this afternoon calling out the Electoral Commission over what it says is the incomplete timetable released by the election management body. The Electoral Commission has issued a timetable for the 2024 general election, detailing, among many other things, a 20-day period to register first-time voters. But the NDC, which is the largest opposition party, says the release of the timetable without consultation does not augur well for the country's election process. We'll connect with the party shortly, but first, let's walk you through the timetable as made public by the EC. April 1 to May 26, 2024 will be public education on voters registration exercise. From the 7th of May to the 27th of that same month will be voters registration exercise. Now, July 9 to July 18, submission of provisional voters register to political parties. From the 15th of July to the 24th of July, there will be an exhibition of voters register. From August 30 to September 5 will be final voters register to be submitted to political parties. Now, from the 9th of September to the 13th of that same month, the EC will receive nominations for presidential and parliamentary elections. September 23, balloting for presidential candidate. The next day, September 24, balloting for parliamentary candidates. December 2, special voting for selected professionals. And December 7 will be election day. I'm joined on the line now by Deputy Director of Elections for the NDC, Dr. Tanko Rashid, computer on the timetable from the EC. Good afternoon to you, sir. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon to your cherished listeners.
Reading through the timetable from a layman's perspective, it doesn't seem like there's any problem with it. So what's your issue with it?
Beatrice, this timetable is not a complete timetable. I strongly believe they would have the complete one, because this one, looking at it, major ingredients that will make the electoral process complete are missing in this timetable. One example is transfer voters. And the timetable is silent about when they will open the window for people to do their transfer. Don't forget, we have two types of transfer. Some will transfer their votes because they want to vote at their new center.
Excuse me, Mr. Computer, they will open the window for what exactly? I didn't hear that.
Transfer voters.
Transfer. Go ahead, please.
Yes. Transfers are not found in this one, the one they've just published at Daily Graphic. And I'm saying that we have two types of it. And so now that there's space room for nominations, people who want to transfer their votes because they want to be nominated to a particular constituency. Now it is not in that timetable they've issued. Another important area is proxy. You know, proxy is very important. If you look at the CI 127, the governing document for electoral activities in Ghana, makes room for proxy voting. This timetable is silent on proxy. There's nothing about proxy on it. And secondly, the normal practice is that they have to wait. When we meet at IPAC, then we will discuss the timetable thoroughly and then look at the timing, whether it's appropriate with the date that they have allocated to each activity. They've given us a letter that there will be an IPAC meeting come Thursday, 7th March. And yet, we have not gone to IPAC meeting and you've released a timetable. I don't know what they want us to come and do there.
So, Mr. Computer, since you're aware that there's going to be a meeting of a sort, don't you think you're running ahead of yourself by issuing complaints that this timetable is not complete?
Beatrice, I am saying that the Electoral Commission is very evasive in the way they handle their affairs. That is not a practice. You don't issue a timetable before you ask us to come and discuss.
So your issue is more of trust issue than the issue being addressed eventually?
That is it, because the IPAC is a consensus building platform. We will come there, discuss the timetable, look at the dates, and then we'll let you know that, look, you are saying you want to do registration in March, and in May. And then we'll say, okay, if you are doing it in May, and you have allocated 20 days for the registration exercise, is it feasible? Are you also going to do it like how you did it in 2023, where you put the registration at your district offices, of which we are not going to accept it this time around? We've made it very clear that this time around, registration will not be done at the district office. We are not going to accept it.
Mr. Computer, yes. Because I want you to land on that.
Yes, because CI 91, as amended by CI 126, made it very clear that registration centers should be accessible. The key word here is accessible to the registrant. Tell me, you go and put the registration center at your district office. People have to travel 100 kilometers to go to your district office to register. Is that accessibility?
Mr. Tanko Computer, you've just confirmed that indeed you're complaining because you seem to have trust issues with the Electoral Commission. You think the EC has been evasive. What will it take? Because if you're going into a general election as important as that, there is a need for the parties to have some level of trust. What will it take you to exhibit some sort of trust ahead of the elections?
The only thing they need to do is to let us resolve around IPAC. IPAC is a body where all political parties, civil society, and the electoral commission will sit together on the table. This timetable should have been brought there.
So you think that the EC should have...
When you put it out, now you put days, you put time, and all that on the program, and put it on daily graphic. Now, IPAC, we are not coming to discuss it. The whole country has seen that you have put a program out and they are sharing it all over. If you go to IPAC, I will change a lot of things there.
Your issue is EC publishing this before having that IPAC meeting. That's your problem.
It's not the best. It's not the best of practice.
We'll have to end it here. Thank you very much, Dr. Rashid Tanko Computer. He is Deputy Director of Elections for the opposition NDC. Thank you for speaking to us.